One of the most notorious video game publishers whose name isn't EA is of course none other than 2K. A franchise that they're particularly well known for is NBA 2K, which many will argue has been degrading year by year. Last I talked about them, I discussed the utterly disgusting monetization system they implemented in one of their last releases, NBA 2K18, which delayed progression to strong-arm people into purchasing the game's currency, VC, with real money, which overpriced cosmetic elements like haircuts, which made it so that you'd have to pay again if you wanted to swap back and forth between them, and which designed the menu in such a way that you can't preview how a haircut actually looks like until after you purchase them. NBA 2K18 on nearly every facet was clearly designed to nickel and dime players, and the title as a result faced immense backlash. Then there is the implementation of My Team, which sees players using VC to acquire card packs from which you can obtain players and other things and build your dream team. And of course, with VC being purchasable with real money, the game essentially preyed on players susceptible to psychological manipulation and addictive tendencies to milk their wallets dry. Fast forward another year and 2K is getting ready to release their next outing, NBA 2K19. But the microtransactions and loot box landscape has changed quite dramatically ever since the Battlefront 2 debacle sparked the all-too-infamous controversy. Belgium in particular has been laying down the hammer on regulating gambling-like mechanisms in games, forcing companies like Valve to disable or adjust the way they handled paid randomized rewards for their games, and companies like Activision Blizzard to disable players' ability to purchase loot boxes outright in games like Overwatch. Most consumers are happy with the progress that's being made in the regulation and stigmatization of gaming's most abhorrent feature. But game publishers are naturally unhappy that their ability to swindle consumers to their liking is slowly fading away. In fact, 2K is desperate enough to go as far as asking their fans and players to talk to their local government into supporting giving companies free rein to implement loot boxes as they please. The following information comes from an official public statement provided by 2K, which can be found on their official website. In an address directed at potential buyers of the series' next entry, here's what the publisher had to say. The Belgium Gaming Commission has stated that games which include certain loot box style mechanics violate gambling laws in Belgium. While we disagree with this position, we are working to comply with the BGC's current interpretation of these laws. As a result, we have made some local changes to the My Team mode. These changes are necessary in order for us to accommodate the BGC's interpretation of the Belgian Gaming Act. Specifically, we will be turning off the ability to purchase packs with premium, non-earned currency /VC. Gamers are still able to acquire packs with My Team points. We will be continuing conversations with the BGC in order to explain our view on how NBA 2K and My Team pack purchases already comply with local laws. If you agree, we recommend that you contact your local government representative to communicate your opinion. We will keep the community posted on any developments. We apologize for any inconvenience. Yeah, 2K, I'm sure after all that's happened over the past few months, with how strongly glorified gambling has been pushed back by the vocal efforts of consumers, the first thing we'll do is ask the government to let your greedy antics slide. I'm sure we're all incredibly motivated to ask Belgium to let you guys essentially break the law, because that's what you guys have been doing. Belgium's gambling laws and regulations have been in place for a while now, and let's not mince words here, paid loot boxes are gambling by colloquial definition. Whether that's the case as far as legal definition is concerned, that obviously varies by country, but when it comes to Belgium, their legal definition extends to how loot boxes function. And the only reason greedy game publishers have been able to get away with it was because the issue didn't become prominent until EA tried to ship a Star Wars-themed casino with Battlefront 2. Government agencies were simply not aware of how rapidly and abhorrently monetization in gaming was evolving right under their noses. But Battlefront 2 and similarly insidious games finally brought all of that to the spotlight, and so far, it has brought all kinds of positive changes. But it's not enough. Companies continue to find ways to skirt around the issue, unable to let go of the cancer of a gold mine that is loot boxes. In fact, just a few days ago, NBA 2K19 senior producer Rob Jones released a statement in which he tried to get us to sympathize with the implementation of microtransactions in full-priced games with a statement that reeked of EA levels of bullshit. Here's what he had to say. VC is an unfortunate reality of modern gaming. Every game at some point, in some way, has currency and they're trying to get additional revenue from each player that plays the game. You know, the question has to be, when does it feel like it's straight money grab versus when does it feel like it's value added, right? We know nowadays that most people don't have the patience to work their way to the top. They just want to be there right away. So, you know, we look at it as, oh, it's an opportunity for us to allow you to skip the grind. But then if the grind is too long, like some people felt last year, they're gonna sit there and they're gonna go, well, you knew the grind was too long to begin with. So we're hoping that by rewarding you more, that A, you won't need to go in and get as many things, VC, and B, you won't feel like, you know, oh, this is how they're getting me. You can now participate in other things to get what you want. I think the biggest problem last year was not knowing where you were going. A lot of the times you wasted VC that you had earned on things that weren't necessary. Finally, Jones concluded by stating that deciding between purchasing items or grinding is a choice, not a force, and that he hopes players consider it as such. Considering the bullshit that NBA 2K18 pulled, this guy has a lot of nerve talking like he's on some righteous crusade. Much like EA, he's trying to sell us on the notion that we're being given the benefit of choice, but that is nothing short of a complete illusion. Strong-arming us into purchases by making traditional means of obtaining gameplay content an untenable hassle is not a choice, it's simply coercion. Similarly, a bully telling a victim to hand over their lunch money if they don't wish to have a shitty school day isn't a choice, it's just coercion. It isn't a choice when you're being forced to decide between two shitty options. Players didn't choose to have basic game features and content locked out or compromised and sold separately, or to have progression be slowed down to a point where the game is impossible to enjoy without paying up additional cash. So I've said it before and I'll say it again, game companies can fuck right off with their player choice bullshit excuse. Jones can also fuck right off with the notion that we're being given value by being sold these different things. There was a time when unlocking cosmetics was just part of the game progression and gameplay loop, but now pieces of the game are being removed so that they can be sold separately as so-called extra content. It is horseshit. Now, one solution that Jones is proposing comes down to making microtransactions a little less shitty by considering feedback from last game, acting as though this is something we're supposed to celebrate. It's akin to a bully trying to reassure the victim by stating, hey, don't worry, next time I won't beat you to a pulp, I'll just shove you inside a locker instead. The only real solution to NBA 2K's problem is to stop designing the entire game around maximizing player manipulation and monetization, plain and simple. Make an actual game with proper flow and progression, rather than a money-making scheme disguised as a game. But of course, with how lucrative in-game purchases are, publishers have no reason to stop, especially since they have the backing of organizations they lobby like the ESA and the ESRB, who are supposed to take responsibility when shit like this happens. So that's where government regulation in countries like Belgium comes in. In Belgium, now that 2K got caught breaking the law by breaching gambling regulations in the country, they'll have no choice but to yield and disable any means for players to pay for a random chance of obtaining desired rewards. The hope is that more and more countries will continue to take a look at how widespread this crap has become and how freely companies are exploiting this stuff. For NBA 2K19 specifically though, do keep in mind that the game was likely designed from the ground up to monetize players through tedious grind, so while it's great that paid loot boxes have been disabled, what players will likely be left with is a game that still retains its artificially marred progression. But hey, I'll take progress where I can take it, and 2K begging their players to contact their local government to convince them to endorse loot boxes goes to show just how desperate they're getting. Game publishers are definitely starting to feel the walls closing in, and they're willing to say anything at this point to deceitfully advertise the so-called merits of featuring loot boxes in our games, as noted by 2K's latest statements. but almost no one is buying into their attempt to sell turd as gold. Anyway, with that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content and would like to support this channel directly, consider donating on Patreon. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Yong Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Yong out.